Ever find yourself swimming in a sea of brilliant ideas, but struggling to figure out which ones are worth diving into? Welcome back to the Honeypot Podcast, where we tackle the sticky challenges of innovation. This week, Alexander and Fredrik guide us through the crucial art of prioritization. Imagine sorting through a treasure trove, separating the gold from the glitter. They'll reveal practical strategies, from the 3 lenses of innovation to action boards and beyond. Get ready to learn how to make smart, informed decisions and turn those promising ideas into reality. Stay tuned, because you're about to discover the secrets to effective prioritization. Let's get started.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Honeypot Podcast with me, Alexander Wennerberg, and my brilliant colleague
Fredrik Heghammar.
Yes.
Back right at you. You're the brilliant one, right?
Oh, thank you very much. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. The sun is shining in a rather cold Stockholm, Sweden. But it's enough to give you the energy you need to get a Monday going.
Yes.
How about you?
Good. I'm feeling a little bit fooled by the weather. It was a little bit warmer last week, so the temperature today feels colder than it is, because I was expecting spring from last week.
I was at my country house and it said it's 6 degrees plus feels like 3 minus.
Yeah. Damn.
Humidity, I think it's the reason. Right?
What's been going on since last week?
Since last week, I've been running a class for some of our customers or coming customers, clients, in design thinking and innovation, where we kind of touched on parts of this what you call a series of tips and tricks. And actually, we talked a little bit about what we're going to talk about today. Prioritize.
Exactly.
Which is the 3rd step, right?
It is. So we're doing this mini-series of the 4 different pillars of idea management, or managing ideas and suggestions from your organization mainly. And the first one is collect. We've been talking about that one. The last episode was about managing what you collect. And now we're at the 3rd one, prioritize. What's your first thoughts when it comes to prioritizing?
That it's tough and hard, of course. And being Swedish, it's kind of a consensus thing. Yeah. Everybody should join in and have a say.
Yeah.
That said, I'm kind of fostered in the American way of running sprints and workshops, and where you usually have one of the participants that have double voting rights, sort of.
Okay.
And that person is usually the one who is in charge. So that makes sense.
So you have one person in the team who has 2 votes instead of 1? Oh, okay. Usually how many participants?
In that way of running it is through it was previously called the Google Design Sprint Book, which is now called only the Sprint Book by Jake Knapp. And I think he recommends to be 7 or 8, including the facilitator. I normally, when I do it in Sweden, I don't have that double voting system. I do democratic way. Everybody got a say. But then in the end, it's someone needs to take care of it. So it's hard. But I think something that we both like is scoring. Up from parameters.
It's a very effective way of doing it.
That's something that we have used a lot. And you are very fond of the 3 lenses of innovation.
Exactly.
Can you explain that?
Yeah, definitely. I think from pretty much like from the first time I ever heard of that one, I've been using it back and forth in many different cases, because I think it's so useful when it comes to idea prioritization. And 3 lenses of innovation is actually just It's a scoring where you are scoring or judging ideas based on 3 parameters. It's viability, feasibility, and desirability, which pretty much in plain English would mean that can we do it? Meaning that is it something that we have the resources or knowledge to do? Should we do it? Meaning that is it in our strategy, or does it align with where we are supposed to be going? And the third one is desirability. That's it. Would anyone need this, or is there any need for this solution to this specific problem for this audience? And that way of scoring ideas or judging ideas is a very effective way of prioritizing ideas against each other, and as you usually say, like compare apples and oranges to be able to compare ideas to each other. The process itself.
I like it too, and you can evolve from that as well, and add your type of criterias. I know we mentioned this before, but when I was working at Google, we had, at the time, they were measuring everything we did at the Creative Lab where I was working. Is this good for the world? Is this good for the user? Is this good for Google? And it needed to have at least 2 of these 3 things to be able to for us even to work on. It needed to be 2 of them, but not necessarily good for Google.
No, there's something about 3, the magic number. It's
the religion, the 3 wise men. Yeah, but another way of prioritizing as well is something that I found from another book that I think Jake Knapp has been involved with. He's a pretty smart guy. And he's been working a lot with AJ and Smart, which is a German company. And they have written a book called The Workshopper. And going back a little bit to what we're talking about, manage, prioritize, and collect, manage, prioritize, and decide.
Yep.
They have the 4 C methods, which is collect, choose, create, and commit.
Yeah.
And I think the commit phase that they're talking about is very valid when it comes to prioritize as well, because first of all, they do voting, of course. You let different people that you've decided. If you do it in a workshop, you let the people in the workshop, but you can also have a panel or a user group, whatever, where you can get data from, which shows. But then they have something called the action board, which is a 4-field scoring board with 2 axes. The one is impact, the standing one, and the horizontal one is effort. And basically, the 4 squares are do now, make a task, make a project, or ignore.
Interesting.
So you kind of take the ones you voted on, and then you can, as a group with different perspectives, you place them in these different things, these different these 4 fields, which help you prioritize.
Sounds very inspired by a little bit by the like the Eisenhower matrix with the 4 quadrants of designing.
But I think which is great with what AJ Smart and Jake is doing, is they make complicated things easier.
Yeah.
And so you can implement it on basically anything. And what they do from these this action board is that they have written how might we statement. So, for example, an idea might be how can we lower the volume in the office? Okay, buy noise cancelling headphones, and then they add, okay, where is this on this matrix, and how is the success criteria as well? How do we measure if we have reach success in the effort? And I think it's a pretty smart thing to do when you're working with prioritization. If you want to make it even more simpler, or maybe it's not simpler but similar, simplicity. That was a hard word. Simplicity. You can also take your findings, your insights, or your ideas, and you can map them out by, now, near future, and future. So you can say, this we can do here now, pretty much like the action board. This one we can do within a year, and this one within 3 to 5 years.
Exactly, and that would be something that I think that's applicable to most things when it comes to working with change or continuous improvement or ideas in general. Because the thing is that the word that you're mentioning there, simplicity, or that Jake and AJ and Smart, for example, are so good at doing complex stuff easy or simple to understand and simple to use. I think that's a very general recommendation that I see so many organizations out there that are complicating their processes out. Like they're creating this 27-step process with all of these things. And that's fine in some cases, but I would also say that one rule that I would try to implement in some kind of way is that it doesn't matter if it's not used, because it's like if you're creating a process that a lot of organizations or managers out there are saying like, no, we need more stuff, or we need more information, or we need a more rigorous process and so on. But that doesn't really matter if it's not being used. If it's so complex that no one can use it, it doesn't matter in the end.
No, true.
So it's a very, I would say that it's a very, like, I don't know. I'm just saying that we tend to overcomplicate things, and I think that, let's say, for example, Jake Knapp and Adrian Smart are doing a very good work at, like,
absolutely. I mean, what they're doing is that absolutely they are visualizing the process and make it very easy. That said, I love those guys. But one thing they never talk about in their magnificent books is the pre-work and the actual work after. And what you're talking about, these complicated processes, is usually happens after their sessions.
That's true.
Which I think you have a point, but I have a slightly different point of view. Because why are the 27-step process so complicated to use? I think it, of course, one reason would be the 27 steps. But let's say you need 27 steps to make the real decisions. That means that it's nothing wrong with those 27 steps. The thing that is wrong is that you try to put in stuff that are lacking so much information. So you can't use, it's holding you back. But if you have all the data you need to put into this 27-step process, then you're good. So it's a little bit chicken and the egg.
No, I agree. But a big,
I don't recommend to use the 27 step process when you are ideating or testing new things and stuff like that.
No,
but
exactly.
Once you have traction on a few ideas and you have this is interesting, then you need to start to collect. You need to go back to collect and collect this data that you need to fill out the 27 step process, because in the end there's no way hiding. You need to do it.
Exactly, and I think also that one thing that I've changed my mind about over the years is probably this sounds so boring. It's my
say it.
It's the epiphany in my brain of the fact that risk minimizing is a very important process.
Yeah, absolutely, and I would say that what we're talking about and what you're doing in Hives is all about risk minimizing or maximizing, maybe, to really explore new things and by the power of many perspectives and test and prioritize before you step into the 27-step process and make it happen.
Yeah, exactly.
And that means that you're not going through all the 27 steps for no reason. You already have a pretty good thought.
Yeah, exactly, because all of the work that you're doing before is to being able to manage or increase the chance of the fact that you have the right information or data to proceed with something, or
you're
make a
making the
decision or
bed.
implement. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Have the right information to make a risk factored bet on.
Yeah, exactly.
On
and that's why this step is kind of important, the prioritization step.
Yeah.
To prioritize the outcome or what that you found, or you know, the treasures, the insights, the ideas. So because we know that, once again, we need quantity to find quality. That means that we need to get more than one thing into the 27 steps. So how do we know that we put our money on the best horse, you know?
Yep.
And like in horse betting, it's all about data. There's no luck in horse betting. It's all about data.
I think
that's what I heard.
Well, yeah. But when it comes to prioritization, we've been collecting a quantity of ideas. We narrow them down to a quality, hopefully, of ideas by managing them and trying to build the right data and information. Now we're at some kind of a prioritization step where we need to compare ideas and try to rank them in different formats. Who would you say are let's say the usual people that should be involved, the usual suspects that should be involved in a prioritization phase?
I mean, it depends on the setup for the company, but I would say start with representation from each department, if you have departments, or each section, like marketing, production, manufacturing, and so on. At least one representative. But then also, if the idea requires legal aspect, you should have legal. You might need to involve a lawyer. You might need to involve an IP person. You might need to, if it's about, you know, organizational change, you need HR. So, or if it's a tech thing, you might need someone from IT, or maybe you need a partner because you don't have the resources in-house. So, everything that is necessary, but a good start is representation from each department, because then you're kind of covered in a way. Not only will you get their perspectives, but you're also getting buy-in or an early buyout, which could happen as well. You know, because we're still in prioritization phase and we're still looking at, should we do this or not?
Yes, and that's a very interesting point that you're making there, because let's say that we have an idea that are very dependent on that we have 4 or 5 different departments or head of departments are saying yes to proceed with an idea. If, let's say, legal has somewhat of a veto, whatever it's called, that they're
saying,
they have the last saying of doing it. Like if they're saying no, it's a dead end. It's just a no matter what the other department says. So try to. I think that you're making a point there that could save a lot of teams very much time.
Yeah, because if you send stuff to legal, they will say no. But if you have them in a room, or if you have them in a tool, or in a call or whatever, you can start to ask why and what if, how might we, and so on, and then you have a discussion. Then suddenly you have a solution to it. It might not be doable now, but it might be doable in the future or a year from now. And this is also the sustainable aspects, I would say, not only environmental, but also staff, people, and economic. How sustainable is this? And I would say another good tool actually to prioritize things is if the idea requires a business case, do it. I mean, fill out the business model canvas, and do your best. If you can't fill it out, the idea probably needs to scale down or just be parked for now. So there's many tools, model matrices out there that you can use to, really stress test your idea at an early stage. And I think this is what the management consultants are doing. And in the past, when they had their magic hard drive with all the data from different businesses, so they can take your idea and they can run it into the program and charge you a shitload of money because they own the data, And now you can actually do a lot of that in the AI chats.
Yes, definitely.
And I wouldn't recommend to rely only on running ideas through a chatbot and see if this is okay or not. But I would use it definitely as a reference.
You have a pretty solid base usually. It's like you have.
But it's not yours. It's not yours. It's more on a general level, sort of.
Yeah, exactly. You have the boilerplate to start somewhere. But I would also add that what you're saying here as well is that if you can't answer the stuff that you need to answer on an idea to be able to prioritize it, it's usually you can't really like explain it just like or get away with no, it's such a special idea or such a disruptive idea, so we can't answer these things on this idea. I don't think that's an excuse usually. That's just a very clear indicator that you don't have enough information yet to be able to prioritize that idea.
Absolutely, and you can kind of approach this from different angles. You could either kill it and cry and lay down and die, or you can use the methods that we've been talking about and scale up and scale down and see, okay, so the solution that we really want is to make a silent office.
Yes.
And the solution that we're thinking was buying
noise cancelling headphones.
Yeah. But we can't afford that, so now we're just buying earplugs, and that everybody can afford.
Yep.
Or if they can't afford that, take toilet paper and put it in your ears. So there's always a solution. And then and so we're gonna do toilet paper in our ears until May 26. Where we have saved up money and you will get headphones, stuff like that.
By the way, that's a very interesting, it's a bit of a sidetrack, but I've seen that's a crazy growing business, because of there's more and more people talking about like noise pollution in the society, that people are being so tired because of constant noise everywhere.
Because of headphones.
Yeah, because of headphones maybe. But there's actually a few companies that are growing crazy much, selling like regular earplugs, but with a more modern design and hopefully a little bit better at filtering out the right kind of noise. Or something.
Yeah, and that requires other solutions, because if you have plastic in your ears all day long, you will get a hive and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. Interesting development.
So get hives instead of hives.
Exactly. It all depends on what kind of hives you're getting.
Exactly. Don't put hives in your ears. No, but I would say, tying it back to, we have to talk a little bit about our tool as well, because I think what we created with this, the workflow that you can tailor to your process. There's no limitation on how many of this scoring you can do. You can do it with different target audience, and I think I really recommend that. It's kind of fun to see, or fun. It's not only fun; it's very crucial to see. What does the management think about this, and what does the people on the floor, if I may say so, think about this, and then you can compare. And then you're doing a run in or AI analyze, and you get the AI's point of view on it as well, and then you can compare the three, and then it's starting to be really interesting. I think.
That's actually that's no exaggerating at all. That's crazy interesting, because we've done that with a few customers using exactly the same scoring, exactly the same parameters, exactly the right questions, but asked, like, let's say an expert jury or the management team, and then asked the crowd of the company, and then put those together side by side to see like which ideas are being the highest ranked on which factors by the management, and which are by the big crowd.
Yeah,
that's an underestimated way.
I find this really, really interesting, because sometimes when I lecture, I say, if you ask, the people, the guy at the machine, he said it takes 5 hours, and if you ask the management on top, they say 50 hours. And it's like, he knows best, right? Yeah, he does. But the people who says 50 hours, they have a better holistic point of view of the company, the implication that those 5 hours is never only 5 hours. No. So it's somewhere in between. But I would say if someone sits in a meeting and says, you know, I think that change will take 500 hours, because that person doesn't know that it only is a flick of a switch. Yeah, that's the different things. Yes. But you know, when you see the difference, it's like when I'm running workshops, when I have like the CEO at one table, that table is always the slowest. It's not because the boss is there and they have more respect for him or her or anything like that. It's just because that person has a more holistic overview of things, and the ideas that that person is coming up with is way more complicated than you know, the guy at the machine, sort of.
But that can also be that can be pretty much like anything, from like, even though it just take, let's say in your example, just 5 hours to make it happen. The CEO or the management might see exactly as you're saying, that all right, so it only takes 5 hours to do, but then we have to spend time on communicating that we've done that change, and then we have to still spend time on, you know, like I don't know, marketing training or education, exactly. Testing. So it's all about getting like the right people on board at the right step or at the right phase.
Absolutely. And things are complex, and small changes can have a huge impact on many different ends. And I think that's really important to respect, I would say. Yeah. So it's not always that easy. No. That said, I've experienced so many times where you hire very expensive consultants that come up with the same things that people are already addressing. Yep. And that's waste of money.
Definitely. Yeah. But it can be done in a very, very effective way.
It can, and people at the right once step. Again, we're going to keep saying it, but since you need to go through a quantity of things, you need to find new ways of doing it, because you can't hire a management consultants team every time you need to check an idea if it's valid or not.
Exactly.
Because that would cost too much money, and then you will only do one a year or maybe one every 10th year, and that's not enough anymore. You need to do it daily.
Definitely. Great. Any final conclusions or recommendations when it comes to prioritizing ideas?
I think estimate. I've said it before, but estimate time. That means money in a way, because just because an idea is brilliant, and you eventually will make a shitload of money on it, it's all about timing as well. You need to know if it's applicable and if it's sustainable, and I mean, you never know. And I guess the whole world I've experienced lately, you know, the last 3 years has been crazy, and you never know what to expect, you know. So how can you prepare for it? You can't, but do your best in bringing in representatives from different departments in your organization, or bring in experts, bring in a panel, and keep it simple, I would say, at first. Yes. Before you go into the 27 steps, as we made an example of. Keep it simple, representation.
Yes, great.
And scoring. We both love scoring. We've seen it works because it's the perfect way of getting qualitative data when people are in a hurry.
Yeah, and that's definitely, like, actually it always works. It's crazy. So if you're choosing one way to use as a prioritization when it comes to ideas, there are definitely a scoring methodology that would work for your organization.
Oh yeah.
Great. Thank you very much for this tuning into this episode. We're going to be talking about the last pillar, decide. One of the favorite steps.
I think we already touched on it a little bit, but let's revisit what we just said.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it all ties together like this design thinking methodology.
It does. join us in the next episode, and we'll see you there.
Yeah.
Have a nice day.
Cheerio.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Honeypot Podcast, brought to you by Hives.co. We hope you found today's insights valuable and inspiring. If you have any questions, thoughts, or ideas, we'd love to hear from you. You can easily reach us by searching for Alexander Wennerberg or Fredrik Heghammar on LinkedIn. Or feel free to drop us an email at alexander@hives.co or fredrik@hives.co. And hey, if you want to learn more about how Hives.co can help you capture insights, ideas, and feedback from your team or customers to make smarter business decisions, head over to Hives.co. It's the easiest yet most powerful tool out there for driving innovation and continuous improvement. Until next time, keep innovating, and thanks for being a part of the Honeypot community.